Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am so freaking excited for my guest today. Sherry Sutton we've met like a bunch of times, but she's just one of those people that when you meet her and you talk to her, you just know the kind of soul that she is. She's just an awesome human being. And I know that by the time we're done with this episode that you're going to think that she is as awesome as I do. So I'm going to read a bio and bring her on. Okay, Sherry Sutton knows personal branding. Her superpower is delivering the best of business growth strategy alongside her ability to hold space and help audiences excavate their true selves, uncover their magnetic message, and show up authentically, all without feeling dorky or going broke. Okay, I love that. But I'm always a dork. Okay, so she's a magnetic speaker who has shared her best podcast, Bosses with Baggage. I love that. Her deeply personal talks take audiences on her journey from a chronic people pleaser who appeared to have it all to losing it all to addiction, and her rise as a deeply authentic entrepreneur dedicated to helping others find their authentic voice. Sherry has a master's degree in executive MBA, studied marketing at Yale. Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. And spent nearly 30 years working in 30 years working in strategic omni-channel marketing for everyone from startups to multi-million-dollar international conglomerates. So we're sitting here laughing. Without further ado, let's meet Sherry.
The doctors did a really nice job, I think, right?
What? No. Like, wow. Okay. I
know. So I'm 51.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm like, this is when I graduated from college and I started a career in marketing. And so I'm like, I've got 30 years of experience because I started when I was 21. And I'm like, God, I don't want to say that. So until just recently, I was like 25. I'll just say 25 years. That's good. Like 25 is fine.
I just turned 64, right? It's like 64, what? And I read something somewhere, actually like a couple of days ago, that we don't, like our brains and our souls don't age. So we still feel like, I say I'm 64 and I have all the aches and the pains and all the shit that goes along with it, but I don't look it, I don't act it, I don't feel it except in the morning sometimes. But in my head, I'm still that, we'll say 35-year-old, because the 20-year-old was really fucked up. So, right. But, wow, that's like so awesome. We've talked so much and how did I not know that? So you recently did a TEDx, which is awesome. And
thank you.
I have to watch that. Yes, I was hoping to watch it before we did this, but life happens. But I'm gonna watch it because Jess Sato helped you, and Jess is another amazing human. I love Jess. So let's talk about you and your journey. So, you've been doing this for 30 years. So.
I know you're right. It is totally crazy. And it's interesting. I've gone back and forth from being an entrepreneur and not. I met a woman the other day who has spent her whole life as an entrepreneur. I mean, she came right out of college and was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I never really thought about that. Even though like my dad was an entrepreneur. My dad, he became a realtor later in life, but before that, he ran a consulting company. My whole childhood, he never worked for anyone else. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. Before that, I actually don't even really know, but I'm a third generation entrepreneur, but certainly wasn't something I thought about coming right out of school. I took kind of the traditional route, as it were. Marketing was not what I thought I was going to do. I wanted to be an academic, and I got really sick right out of college or in college. And I needed a job with insurance, frankly. And so I kind of fell into marketing. I loved the whole idea of at the time we called it the World Wide Web, which for those of you who don't know, there's this thing called, if you look at the URLs for people, right? It says www dot, like the old people still say www dot blah, blah, blah. That means World Wide Web. And when I was in college, we had one computer. I feel so old saying all of this. We had one computer on campus that was the World Wide Web. And I was like, oh my God, it's graphical. And how cool is this? And I had spent a year working in the computer lab at school, which I had zero business doing, by the way, but I lied my way into this job so that I could have a job where I sat. Cause again, I was super sick and I couldn't, I needed to kind of be able to sit all day. But I started being on these servers where people talked. So this idea of social media was around really way before anything else. These chat rooms were really vibrant. And I just love the idea of being able to create community with people you've never met before and you may never, ever meet. And I just thought that was so fascinating. And then when that graphical element was added. So when I left college, I, knew I loved websites, and I just happened to go into a staffing service and said, told them that I was really fascinated with websites and would love to be able to learn how to do that. And they were like, oh, actually, we need somebody. We want to do a website, and would you be willing to learn how to do it? We don't know anything about it, but we'll pay you to learn. And so I went to Barnes & Noble, and there were 2 books on HTML, and I bought one of them, and I sat down and I taught myself HTML, and I learned how to do it. And that started my career in marketing. And so I've been doing marketing and digital marketing ever since, and just kind of fell into it and loved it and found it really, really interesting, and had the privilege of a long corporate career where I worked in all sorts of things. I did, small startups, stupid .coms during the .com boom, where we had $50 million and giant advertising budgets, and we're going to do a Super Bowl commercial, and then change your strategy and do something different. All the craziness, right? And we're going to be millionaires, but then we don't make any money, and the whole thing. So I worked at a number of different software startups. I've done 2 presidential campaigns. I worked in online gaming, online casino gaming.
Wow.
And, then I did a lot of time selling geeky products to other geeky people, right? So electronics equipment, chemical companies. And what all that really brought me was this ability to really understand what it takes to grow a business across different industries and across even with digital and without, right? I mean, you might be able to say, oh, she's been around for so long. How could she understand what's going on now with digital marketing? But I understand what it was like before that, because business has been going on for thousands of years, people, right? So way before social media. And so there's ways of building business that if you're scrappy and super, super strategic, you can grow a business without doing some of the things that you think you're supposed to do, right? Entrepreneurs start with this idea, here's all the things we're supposed to do, right? And you don't have to do a lot of them. So I was working at a chemical company and was traveling internationally, had rebranded this company on an international scale, multi-billion-dollar company. It was really, really fun. But I took a layoff because they were reorganizing, and that my job just disappeared. And I had this hobby of photography, and decided that I would go and sort of be an entrepreneur for the first time in my life. And I always wanted to either be a yoga teacher or something, right? At that point, I knew I wanted to do something else, and that corporate America wasn't really for me. But I just never saw the opportunity, and that was my opportunity. So I started a photography business, did mostly weddings, which are so fun. Some people don't like them, but I loved them. Just everybody's happy. Everybody's having fun. I love the craziness. I love I have 1 second to get this. And if I screw it up, I'm in trouble, right? I loved that. Like I
Pressure.
love the pressure.
Yeah.
I love the pressure. I love the chaos. I love the craziness. And so I did that for a long time. And then I'll stay on the career part, but we can go back to the personal side. I did that for a number of years, and it caused a real rift in my personal life. We can come back to it. I'll finish my employment work history first. And so we moved and, got divorced, and all my life completely fell apart. And I went back to the corporate world for a while. And I want to just say to anybody who's listening to this, who's an entrepreneur and might be like, God, I just don't know if I can do this thing anymore. I don't have it in me anymore. I mean, we're going to all have those days, but it's okay to go back to corporate for a couple of years. I did it. I was like, look, I'm at a place in my life. I need somebody else to tell me what to do for a while. I cannot make any more of my own decisions.
Right.
I do not want to be the self, propeller of my life for a while. I just want to go somewhere. I want someone to tell me what to do. I want to get a paycheck, and I want to come home at the end of the day. And I did that for about 3 years.
All the time, right? Because we, as entrepreneurs, we don't leave it at the office. We can't, because we're in our office. 24/7.
Yeah, we're in our office. Like my kitchen's right there, right? Like it's right on the other side of that door. Yeah, and I think that's okay. I actually was texting with a former client this morning, and she was like, asking her what's going on, and I've got this thing, this offer I wanted to see if she wanted to do, and she was like, just kind of thinking about going back working for somebody for a while, and I'm not going to retire. I'm not quite ready to retire yet, but I just I'm feeling called to do something else, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
So after 3 years in the corporate world, and again, I had some great experiences. I worked at Brinks Home Security, and I learned all about door knocking as a way of marketing your business, which is like the last thing people think about for growing your business. But I can tell you that businesses like Brinks Home Security, that's how the majority of their business is made.
Well, yeah. I mean, any kind of like a service business like that is definitely, knocking on doors. Like we have a guy here, which is like hilarious. They send their guys up here. I think it's like pest control. And the dude is on like a hoverboard. And he has knocked on my door. So one of my clients and one of the guy that I used for my pest control, not just because he's my client, I was using him before he became a client. But, he's local and he's amazing, and he doesn't, it's actually called integrated pest management. So they know how to kill the right bugs the right way. It's not just like a spray. It's safe for the dogs. It's safe for the kids. It's safe for everything. So this guy comes up, and I'm like, I see on my ring, and he's like not walking. I'm like, what in the heck? Is he on a skateboard? And I'm like, holy shit, it's a hoverboard. So he hovers, and then he gets like to the front door, and I see this whole thing happening like on my, Ring doorbell thing, and then he like stops and he flips it up just like, and I said, don't ring the doorbell. Well, as I said, don't ring the doorbell, he rings the doorbell. Dogs go insane. So I opened the door and I said, did you not hear me say, don't ring the doorbell? He said, well, yeah, but how else would you know I was here? If I looked at the ring and told you, don't ring the doorbell, clearly I know that you're here. But anyway, that was, and we have experiences with these people all the time. But you're right. For certain businesses, it's 100% effective. 100% effective. Right.
Which seems crazy to a lot of people. But anyway, so I did that for about 3 years, did a huge rebranding project with them, and realized, I started having the itch to do my own thing again, and COVID happened, and everybody, everybody reevaluated their lives, got laid off, quit their jobs, and my phone started ringing. Or my email started popping up, and my text started going crazy of like, hey, I know you've run a successful business before and you've got all this experience in marketing. What do I do? I want to start my own business. What do I do? How do I get customers? How do I get the word out there? Do I need a website? Do I, what? Should I do ads? Should I do this? Like, what should I be doing? And so this business was just sort of born out of that, right? I just started answering those questions, started helping people out. Obviously, I'm still a photographer, so I was doing a lot of, headshots and, started sort of to the very small capacity that I could, like making some websites and those types of things, and realized like my real skill set is in strategy and helping you say, okay, who are you trying to talk to? Who are you trying to serve? How do we create a magnetic message that's unique to you as a person? And then how do we translate that into marketing that's going to make the most sense? Because sometimes door knocking makes the most sense. Most people might not think that, right? Sometimes not doing social media makes the most sense. I have a client who we worked with yesterday. We just finalized on her promotional strategy, and we're not doing any social media for at least 6 months because getting a referral base is going to be more important. And so we have her doing trade shows with her target audience. Yeah. And so I think so many people, especially new entrepreneurs, if they're coming from corporate America or coming from somewhere else, they start Googling, how do I grow my business? And they instantly go to social media or ads or funnels. And that's not right for everyone. And I realized that there were so many entrepreneurs who were calling me saying, I spent $30,000 on an ad campaign and got nothing out of it. I'm like, well, who are you talking to? Well, I don't know. What was your message? I don't know. I never even saw the ads. You're like, well, okay, that's why. Wow. It's true. I mean, it's a true story. And I've heard it from multiple people. And so I really wanted to find a way to work with people one-on-one to say, okay, let's talk about just your business and exactly what do you need to do to grow it. And then, you can go off, and because a lot of these things, especially if you're the face of the brand, you can DIY or have just a little bit of support. You don't have to spend as much as a lot of people were spending. And so I've sort of fit myself into that little niche, and I've been doing this. It's almost 4 years now, and just love it. I mean, there's days.
There's days for everything. I mean,
there's days for everything. I was telling you before we started that I just came back from vacation, and I'm like, I'm having one of those like entrepreneur blah day, like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
We all have them. We're all going to have those weeks where we're like, oh, just got through it.
Right. Just like push through. And it's so funny. I've been very, very fortunately, like, I have really good clients, and I've been getting more clients, and, we're really starting to push podcasts and video because a lot of people out there they should have a podcast. Like they should, so many people that I've been speaking to, I'm like, oh my God, you should have a podcast. But even video, because I think that video, when people see you on video, they see you, right? They get to relate to you. So that's one of the things that, and websites and SEO,
and I think it's one of the things that most entrepreneurs miss is that idea of them being the face of their brand and not their product. Yes.
And we talked about this. So like when I went down to Charles' site, Kim, she picks like the one picture of myself that I hated, and she didn't know, right? But she's like, your website's done. And I'm like, yay. And I open it up and I was like, oh shit. Right. It was like, oh my God. And I'm like, I hate my profile. And I'm like, why did she pick that picture? And I said, so why that picture? And she goes, because it's you contemplating and thinking, because that's what you do. You contemplate, you think, you strategize, and that's kind of like you looking. And I went, I think we should change it. And she goes, I don't. And of course, then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying you to do this, right? Because our asshole comes out when we get defensive. I mean, it does. And I went, I'm going to sit with it for the first time ever in my life. Like the asshole didn't come out like that, which was awesome. Mindfulness is a wonderful thing. I've been doing it for 4 years. So I sat with it. And then 2 weeks later, I would look at it every day and be like, and then 2 weeks later, I went back and I looked at it and I was like, oh shit, that's me. And so I called my wife in. I'm like, come here. She's like, what? I went, look. She's like, it's your website. I said, no. Look what I built. Look what I built. And it became this whole other thing. And I'm actually going to start to do a keynote on this, is like the oh shit to oh shit. Because when we accept the fact that we're the face of our business, that people want to work, they want our services because they want to work with us, it's a hell of an eye opener. Right? It's just like it was a, oh, okay. And I can't tell you how much business I've gotten because of that, because people go through it and they're like, oh, I totally want to work with her.
Yeah.
Totally want to work with her. So,
but you also have to do it in a way that's authentic, because I think one of the things that happens is we're like, okay, so I'm the face. So that means I need to look like so-and-so, right? Well, whoever so-and-so is, right? It's, I need to look like Kim Kardashian, or I need to look like this person, or, a lot of times people are like, well, let me put on my, like, metaphorically, let me put on the mask, right? Let me put on the things. And I think one of the coolest things that entrepreneurs have an opportunity to do, especially ones where they are the face of their brand, which isn't always the case, right?
Right.
If you're selling cupcakes, it might not be about, you may not be the face of your brand, but even then you probably are. But let's just go with the example.
Sure.
When you're the face of your brand, you have this very unique opportunity in life to show up the way that you want to show up in a way that's completely authentic, which is scary as hell. Because you show up really as you. Not only will you attract the people who really want to work with you, you will get fans like you've never had before, but you're also going to get people who really don't like you.
Oh, 100%.
And you're going to be scared the entire time. And we don't like to not be liked, right? We, as a human beings, we have a natural impulse to fit in, because if you're on the edge of the herd, you're not going to make it. Right? When the tigers come, the antelope's on the edge of the herd, right? And so you need to be in the middle of the herd, but to be in the middle of the herd, you have to be liked by most people in the herd, or they'll kick you out. So we have this natural instinct to fit in, but we let it go rampant sometimes, and we forget about authenticity. For many of us, we've never even tried to find it, right? And like my journey to finding it, like, kind of led for my whole life to fall apart. And I'm so glad. It was really, really painful, but I'm so glad it happened. And I'm so glad that I was willing to say, no, I don't want to be that anymore. Right. I've been wearing masks my whole life. I'm ready to not be that corporate girl that I've been selling to everyone around me, because that's just not who I am. Right. I'm this girl over here in the bright colored dresses. And if you listen to the TED Talk, I share that whole story. And if anybody wants to Google it, it's called How Facebook Saved My Life and Started an Authenticity Revolution. I tell that whole story, but it's scary, but it's so on the other side of it. There is nothing better than being able to integrate exactly who you are in every facet of your life, from the grocery store to the gym, to the podcast host, to meeting with clients. I mean, I am who I am in everything. I mean, I still wear lipstick, and I mean, sometimes it's okay to do a little touching up, but I am who I am. And that is such a gift and such a release, and it makes life so much easier, I think. Yeah,
because you're not working hard to cover something up. I mean, for me, this is it. Like, it's hot here, so I'm in a tank top, and I usually wear a t-shirt, and, if I'm going somewhere, the most I'll wear, especially, khakis and a shirt. I mean, I'm not a girly girl. I don't wear makeup. People are like, they're like, how are you 64 and you look like that and you don't wear makeup? It's like, probably because I don't wear makeup. I mean, I don't know. My mom had great genes. I don't know what the answer is, but it is what it is. But it's like the last, I guess going on 3 years, has been all about being authentic for me. I had a coach that told me, and this was like, I don't know, I guess now it's like 7 years ago, be less you. You're in Lafayette, Indiana. You're a girl from New York. You're an extrovert, and you're in a room full of introverts. You need to kind of pull back a little. And I did. And I got clients. But as soon as I came out, I've been out for my whole life, but I was
like, wait, is that a new development? Because this is a story we need to hear.
Oh, no. As soon as the real me showed up, right, they were like, who the hell is that? So I fired him. But for me, it was like this whole thing about, when you're not you, when you're not authentic, you're attracting the people that are attracted to the inauthentic you to you, right? So then when the real you shows up, they're like, what the hell? When you're your authentic self, like you said, you're attracting the people who are attracted to you. And you're also, to me, deflecting the people that aren't supposed to be with you. And I'm fine with that, like 100%, because I don't work with just everybody. Like, I'm super picky now, which, thank the universe that I'm in this position that I can be, but I do not work with just anybody. If our values don't align, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, but that's a mindset. You've set that intention and worked that mindset to the place where you are, could say fortunate enough to do that. But yeah, I'm the same. If I get the heebie-jeebies about somebody, like, I'm perfectly happy to say no, even if it means that I don't make my revenue goals. And even if it means I can't maybe, pay whatever bill I wanted to pay. It's so much better to be super in alignment and keep that space open for somebody else who you can actually help. Right. And that you can actually utilize all your superpowers in a very authentic way to serve them. And if they're asking you to be something that you're not going to be able to serve them properly. You're always going to give them 60%. And that's not fair to you. And it's not fair to them.
Right.
And it's scary. It's scary, especially when you're starting and you're walking away from revenue. Right. I've had clients that I've had to walk away from where I'm just like, this is just, I understand that this is not great. It's going to be hard for me to pay my mortgage, but I just have to. It's too, it's just like not aligned.
Like Eurezio and I were talking about that, and you get that. Because for me now, it's like, if it's not a hell no, a hell yes, it's a no, right? Yeah. And it wasn't for a while. It would be like a kind of yes. So I'd be like, okay, now it's like no. If it's, because I met this person at this point, I guess it's a couple of months ago, and he really wanted to work with me, but our values definitely did not align. And I said no, and he was like, why? And I said, we don't want to go there, but I just don't think this is a good fit. No. I really want to know why. Is it because of X, Y, Z? And I went, yeah. And he said, well, that's not how capitalism works and blah, blah, blah. And I went, first off, now you're telling me how to run my business. So that's a huge no. But second off, I'm not going to want you to be successful and make money to give money to organizations and want to dismantle my marriage. It's pretty simple, right? So, and so I just remember him going, you're telling me that you don't want me to succeed? And I said, no, I'm telling you, I don't want to help you succeed. So, and honestly, for me, that's kind of where it's at. If I am not invested in you, I am not going. It is what it is. And feels bad. Part of me wishes that I could feel differently, but it's toxic out there right now for me to be able to feel any differently or to act any differently. So, and people know it. There's no secret of which way I lean. And right now, with the way the country is, I have to make decisions based on that. So, and then people,
and that's living your authenticity, right? Like, and that's great. I mean, again, like One of the things that I do with my clients is we go through the first step is just what I call rooting. And we really spend time going through what are your superpowers? What are you really good at? What are you not good at? And, from a emotional perspective and just from a logistical perspective, like some people are like, I cannot be on video. Like I can't, I have a lisp or whatever it is, right? Or I'm just scared or, whatever. And, then we also do, what's your mission? What is your vision? And what are your values? What are the values that you're going to run this business by? And if it doesn't meet with those values, you're going to walk away.
Yeah,
no matter what.
Yep.
And then the other thing we do is, how do you want to feel in your business? Like, how do you want to feel every day? And I know if you did one of those, I think you'd want to feel like, I want to feel like I'm helping to propel my clients, that I want them. It's important to you to feel like you want your clients to be successful. Some
100%.
people don't care.
Yeah.
But that's important to you, and that's cool. And I think being able to identify those things early in the process before we do our strategy allows us to sort of from the beginning, both literally and energetically say, here's the people that I want because our values are going to align. But I think entrepreneurs often don't take the time to think through their values in advance and say, what are my values? Because my values are also going to extend into the business. Because
right.
My view of entrepreneurship, especially as the face of your brand, is it has to be very personal. My values are my business values. My face is the business's face. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I tell them, like, if you can't get past that, we need to create you a business where you're not the face of the brand, but right. People buy from people. And the best way often for you to differentiate is to be the face of your brand. Right. So how do we work through this? How do we create a marketing plan where you're comfortable being authentic and being you, right? But also we'll bring in customers and bring in clients. And that's why for me, like, I do everything one-on-one, because I think there's an alchemy to that kind of taking a course on like how to do 5 reels a week isn't going to teach you, right? It's going to say, what are your personal values and how do you want to show up for the world?
Right.
Right. And I think those are important things to talk about.
No, I agree 100%. And I think that, a lot of people, you're right. There's some people out there that don't care. They're like, I don't care about that. I just want, I'll work with whoever and I'll take whoever's money. And I mean, I used to be like that because I needed the money, right? And there was a point that it was like, okay, I'm going to do whatever. And then when I started really being authentic and then being true to myself, it was like, I really had to take a look inward and be like, okay, what do I want to do? Who do I want to work with? So I have a coach that I work with that is the former COO of one of the largest, actually the largest not-for-profit in the United States. And she's an executive coach now, and she's also doing keynote speaking, but she's an executive coach. And I love her mission. Kofi and I went up and filmed her keynote, I guess in May. Holy crap. Like a few months ago. It feels like it was like last month. And it was amazing. Like, I was supposed to be doing B-roll, which we know I'm never going to be a camera person ever again as long as I live. And I can equivocally say that because I'm supposed to be doing B-roll and she's my client and my friend, right? And I'm like this. Wow. And he's looking at me like camera. And I'm like, oh, shoot, those are the people that I want to work with, the people who I can get behind their vision, like Jeremy with, Smith IPM here, right? Like, he wants to build a business that helps his employees grow, that gives them a great, work-life balance. To me, I guess for me, it's heart-centered businesses, right? It's people that lead from the heart, because that's where I lead from. And not everybody does that. Not everybody has to, right? But for me, that's what works for me. And I feel good. Like, we'll do a 2-hour, video recording of my client. And I feel so good after it. I'll like look at them and be like, oh yeah, that was a really great point. Or, I'll have a meeting with Jeremy or I'll drive around town and see his billboards, and be like I'm proud of it because that's the work that we've done. And that's what I want. I want, maybe especially at my age, I'm at this point where it's like, 7 more years, I'll probably sell the business or whatever, but I want to feel good about what I do. And I want to feel good about who I do it for. That's my passion.
Yeah, because if you wake up in the morning and you don't like your job and you don't like the people you're talking to, right? I mean, it's still a job. I would love to be able to say like every moment of my life I love. But honestly, 90% of the time I spend, certainly anytime I'm with a client, I don't feel like I'm working. There are moments where I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting paid right now.
I know. Yeah. I know.
Okay. You want to give me money to hang out and talk to you about your business? Like, sure. I feel like it's highway robbery sometimes, but but that's how you want to feel, right? Like you want to feel like, oh my God, I'm living in all of my skills are being utilized all the time. And I'm just in this state of flow and of constant service, right? And of grace. And I believe that like, just from a spiritual perspective, right? Going back to being heart-centered, that's what it's all about, right? We're all just on this rock hurtling through space, right? It's all about helping one another. It's putting our ego aside, finding humility, being of service to others. And the only way we can do that is really knowing ourselves and saying, here's where I'm in most alignment. Let me find other people who are in alignment with me so I can serve them. They can serve me. Then we can serve someone else. And that's, that's when I think real life and work happiness happens. And I'm not saying that running a business doesn't feel like work, but it doesn't feel like as much work.
Right.
It doesn't. There are still days where you have to do, for me, it's billing, like any kind of billing. Like it's like pulling teeth to get me to do billing. I shouldn't make that joke. My poor husband just came back from like massive dental surgery. So, sorry, honey, if you ever listen to this.
We didn't mean that.
We're sorry that we made fun of your teeth. No, but it's like, Paul, it really is. Like, I don't like, there's things you have to do you don't like doing, right? Sometimes it's marketing and that's cool. Like, I get it. I work with a lot of people who are like, I hate marketing. I'm like, all right, I'll try to make it fun for you. Like, well, we want to work with you just because you make it fun.
I mean, right. And like, I use Stripe, so I don't have to worry about chasing anybody I used to like, oh, can I pay you by check? And it's like, sure. And then I have to run around town, trying to get a check. It's like, nope, I use Stripe. I pull it out every month and that's it. I don't even have to worry about it. My bookkeeper does my book because I suck. Like I was trying to figure out, oh my God, what was it? I think it was like 3% or 2.9% of 13,000. And I came up with 3,000 and it was really like 300. So I'm like, oh hell, I can't do that. That's like, I'm losing $3,000 on it. And I'm like, so I said to my accountant or my bookkeeper, I went, hey, what am I doing wrong here? Cause it doesn't seem right. And she's like, you need to add another zero. And I was like, that's why I don't do this.
Math is hard.
Math is hard. I'm watching my wife. So there's this new show out called The 1%. And I get all of the word questions. She gets all the math stuff, like all the math stuff. It's like, okay, math is hard. You're 100% right. Okay. So what advice would you have for somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
And I'm not saying this to be self-serving. But I do believe that if you start with a strong strategy and really take the time and put some money into building a really strong strategy from people who know what they're doing, it's going to make a huge difference. I see a lot of entrepreneurs kind of doing the Google thing, trying to figure it out, and they move forward because they don't want to spend a lot of money, which is totally understandable. But they end up spending a lot more time and money than they need to. I think if you can find whatever it is that is your handicap, if it's marketing, if it's finances, right? I hired a bookkeeper and an accountant right away before I was making any revenue because I knew I would not pay my taxes. It'd be 10 years down the road. My house would be taken. Like I know my liabilities. Find a been there, done that person and be willing to spend the money at the start to really get a strong strategy and really strong support in the areas where you're not going to be strong, because you can't do all of it. And if you go into entrepreneurship thinking that you can figure it all out on your own, because our entrepreneurs, like we are brilliant we're all very, very smart people, right?
Yes.
And we are super motivated, which is why we know we can be entrepreneurs. But we take on too much. And I can tell you that when I started this business, even before, I hired a coach and said, okay, I'm thinking about doing this. I had started other businesses before. I've worked in corporate America for a long time, but I know that I can't see the label from inside the bottle. And so I had to have a coach, and I was willing to spend the money and like take another month of working in corporate or whatever I needed to do to pay for it, so that I could really start with a strong strategy that wasn't coming out of just my head.
Yeah.
Is, stay in corporate one more month if you need to in order to do it. You don't have to spend a ton of money. There are coaches out there who are like, well, if you don't spend $120,000 a year on me, then, I won't even answer the phone. Like, you don't need to,
Yeah.
Whether you go with me or someone else, there are affordable coaches out there. I am one of them because I don't believe, in some of that. That's a whole other discussion about the state of the coaching industry. But that would be my guidance, is find people who've been there, done that. And even if you don't have the money, join a group. Like we're in a group called the Dames, which is really for 6-figure earners and above. But even if you just go network, find other people who, have started other businesses, ask them for their advice. Just get out of yourself and be willing to ask for help.
100%. And speaking of, because I always talk about the Dames, are you going this year?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. We met last year.
I know. But
we have an annual conference. If you guys are wondering what we're talking about.
Yes, we have an annual conference. And it's like big woman energy.
Yeah. I mean, big woman energy.
Big energy. That's like, that doesn't even touch it. The amount of energy in that room. I am one of the most extroverted people that I know. 3:00 on Thursday, I had to go to my room. And I told my wife, she was still at work because it was like 5:00 here. And I said, she's like, aren't you supposed to be at the conference? I'm like, I can't people anymore. I can't people anymore. And for me, that was like, what? But I couldn't.
Yeah. I know. Well, and I remember you saying to me, you're like, you always seemed like you were busy. I was like, no, I was just finding ways to avoid people and going and sitting in the bathroom stall and being like, I can't talk to people for 15 minutes because I need.
I know. Well, and there was one
just the face that I put on. I put on this very I'm very busy, but really I just need you to not talk to me because I'm freaking out.
Well, but then when we spoke the last time, you said there was one point that you were trying to talk to me, but then everybody wanted to talk to me, which I was like, I had people saying, I wanted to come up and talk to you, but everybody said you have to go talk to Iris. And I was like, why? Because I didn't, I didn't see it. Apparently it happened because everybody is telling me that it happened. I didn't see it. All that I saw was like, oh my God, there's so-and-so who, I've been talking to. I'm going to go over and give them a hug. Like Precious, I literally just walked up and was like, sure, I do the circle thing and you're the guest and you don't respond to my thing. And she was like, oh no, you didn't. And I went, oh yeah, I did. And we're best friends now. It was just like one of those New Yorker to New Yorker. It was like, what the hell?
That's one thing I love about you is and it's not just you being outgoing. I think it's probably the work you've done on being authentic, though I don't know because I didn't know you before, but you're just fearless in that way. And it's funny. One of the things that I've worked on, and I'm super extroverted too, but I've worked on with the Dames, there is like a dozen of the Dames that I am intimidated to talk to. Precious is one of them. If you listen to this, Precious, I'm a little intimidated.
You better be listening to my podcast. But anyway, go ahead.
It's not that you're bad. There's bad people. I get intimidated because there's such big woman energy. And I guess, I don't know if I don't feel worthy or I don't know what I'm going to say or
what happened.
am I going to feel like a dork? And am I going to be cool enough? And, you know,
your weirdos are there. I mean, come on. And the thing Thursday night, like right before I was going to do karaoke and stuff like that, I was so intimidated just to go.
Right.
Just to be in the room. I was like, I remember paying for my plane tickets. And then Francesca and I shared a room. I'm not sharing a room with anybody this year because I really need my space. But, and I did all the things. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? You don't, like, what are you going to do when you get in front of so-and-so? And so, like, what are you going to do? Like, and we had like the VIP cocktail thing, the night before, and that was, kind of cool. But that day, after talking to people and connecting with people, realizing that you do belong in that room, it took my breath away. I mean, besides the Denver air, that also took my breath away, but not to kick my ass. But, and like Fabienne is getting ready to, introduce me, and I gave her a hug, and then I just like started crying. And she was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I do belong in this room, because it was like this huge wake up call. I had somebody in my ear for 3 years telling me how much I sucked. And to have literally risen from the freaking ashes and built what I built, it was like, wow, the smartest thing I did was join this group when all the shit hit the fan with my other thing. It was just the smartest thing I ever did. Because then, like last year,
and I admire the crap out of you for doing that and being willing to like rise and still go on the stage and still do it. And like a lot of people can't do that. They just can't. They'd crumble under that, right? I don't know if I took as many advantages of that as I could have, because I got overwhelmed. I mean, I got overwhelmed by the energy, and I got to like, I'm not going to talk to her. Even just this last quarter, I have a list of dames I'm intimidated by, and then I'm going to now go ask to have coffee with.
Good.
Like, I feel like a sixth grader saying that, like, oh my God, look at there's the eighth graders. Like, like, let's be honest. Like, we have these moments, even as I'm a very successful entrepreneur, and that's okay.
Right.
But I think everyone is so willing. I mean, whether you're in an organization like the Dames or not, people are so willing to talk to you, willing to help, because
100%.
Yeah, we rise on the shoulders of the people who've done this before us. And I want people to stand on my shoulders because I'm standing on the shoulders of other women who've done this before me.
The rising tide lifts all boats. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm like getting goosebumps. Because it's just so true. I mean, I'm working with, so I had a VA who she was very task oriented, and I'm not in the spot where I can just keep giving tasks. I need somebody who can do stuff. So I have two VAs that I'm working with, and one is Heather's friend, and then one is Heather's friend's student, because she's like a professor. And the student is an intern, right? So, and I'm paying her, but I'm also teaching her. And like, she'll send me something like for a social media post, and I'll send it back and say, if you owned this business, would you be okay with that?
That's such a powerful question for a leader to ask. That's amazing.
Right? I would never say, no, this sucks. Like, it looks like it's cut and pasted. If you own this business, would that be okay to you? Because I'm all about empowering people. Because I have had so many people empower me. And again, right, I believe that we're supposed to be of service. There are some people that are, some people aren't. I'm supposed to be of service. So however I can help somebody grow, however I can help somebody look at things from a different perspective. Something as silly as our podcast production sheet, like who's going to be on it and whatever, like some rows, and this is my, OCD, and I'm not making fun of people with OCD. I do have a little bit of a touch of it. I got my ass chewed on that. But anyway, couple of lines were centered. Some of them were right justified. Some of them were, and I was like my brain exploded. So I said, and we have like a group chat. I said, is this how you would turn your stuff into Kim? And she was like, no. I went, please fix it because it's giving me a headache. Like, take ownership of it. So I have team-based values that, everybody on my team has to meet, or because I meet them. So if you can't work with me under those 6 values, then you can't work with me, because it shows, right? Like it's not the brand, it's the culture. And I just have it a certain way. Okay. So what's an obstacle that you've gone through, or maybe are still going through, that seasoned entrepreneurs or people in the C-suite, or, not like a new entrepreneur might have gone through? Why can't I talk right now? What is an obstacle that you have gone through that somebody might be going through right now as we speak, or try to speak?
Speaking is really the biggest challenge that I find at the moment.
You and me both, sister. Okay, go ahead.
I'm making a little fun of you.
That's okay.
For me, it's at this moment, I'm really finding it hard. It's hard to stay motivated when you're by yourself, even though I have people work for me, but I'm the gas and I'm the engine, right? And so I have to keep it moving all the time.
Yeah.
And it's me. And that, I love that. That's why we're entrepreneurs. We don't want we don't want somebody else to be the gas in our engine. I don't know if I could take this analogy any further, but like we want the
battery in our Tesla. But, no, go ahead.
But it's exhausting. It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And there are moments where you're just going to get tired, right? And you don't really know what's next, and decision fatigue is real. And I think it's okay to just acknowledge it, right? I mean, I'm in one of these phases right now, and a little bit of it is I just came back from vacation, but even before I left, I was kind of hitting a burnout. I had a really lovely, busy first quarter. I had the TED Talk in January, which was like a 3-month prep cycle.
Yeah.
The TED Talk, which is, it's like for me anyway, it was like running a marathon. I mean, I really, really prepped. I really worked hard at it. Then my business just boomed. And so I was super, super busy for about 4 or 5 months. And I'm still busy, but like it's gotten a little bit more manageable. But I think I just never really, I never really recovered from that level of like super high energy. And I think it's normal. It's normal to just kind of have these moments where you're like, oh my God, I have to make all these decisions still. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for me is just giving grace when those moments happen, and be like, yeah, of course you're going to feel like this sometimes. Sure. Like, that's totally okay. You're going to have these moments where you're like, okay. Just don't make any major decisions. Like, let it ride out.
Yep.
Do your mindset practices. Do what you need to do. If you don't have mindset practices that you've put together when you're feeling really centered, this isn't the time to do them, but I really recommend having those. Like, I came back from vacation. I went right back to my morning routine. I do meditation. I have a journaling exercise that I do every single day, starting, moving a little bit more and getting back, utilizing that routine and just letting it pass, because it'll pass. And 3 days from now, I'm going to be, writing my next book, right? And I think it's okay. Don't get all freaked out. I get freaked out about my own emotional state, and that might just be me. But I'll be like, oh my God, I'm not feeling completely motivated. I need to go back to corporate, or I need to, burn the whole business down. And you just have to go, okay, let them just
Step
We're
back.
just having a moment.
Yes, take a step back.
Let's chill out for a second. Let's just not love our job for a few days.
Right.
I love my job still, but let's just be sick of our job for a few days and then it'll get better. Like, it's okay.
And, yeah. Last week I had 2 days of, why the fuck am I doing this?
Right.
And then I thought of my clients. And that brings me back every time.
Every time.
Right?
Every time.
Because I love them.
Yeah. I had a meeting with a client
them.
this morning. I felt like totally shifted because I've got to meet with a client.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just like a whole, because so I'm like in my office alone all day. I mean, I work with contractors and I, talk to them, but, my dogs look at us through the gate because the puppy, she's 2 years old. The 3-year-old can come in here all day long. The 2-year-old will come in here and, there's a piece of paper, and she will shred it until I give her a treat because my wife trained her that, I'm all frozen and screwed up. Okay, I'm just making a face because I froze like that. Am I still frozen?
You are. It's a really, it's a good face. It's a great face. Yeah, it is. It is. I hope that we use that as the cover for this podcast.
Hey, we totally can. But, Heather has trained her that if she comes in with a rock because she doesn't want her to eat and swallow the rock, she gives her a treat and then Piper gives her the rock. Well, now Piper is like, yay, I'm going to bring in a rock and I'm going to get a treat. And I can't fucking untrain that. Like, I cannot untrain that. It is what it is. So now we're kind of stuck with that. So I know that if I let her in here, because I would love to have her in here, because everyone, let me see your dogs. You can't, because she will eat whatever I have laying around. And then it's like, clean your office. It's like, it's clean, but she will still find something that is going to be edible. But anyway, it is lonely, right? And so I'll have like coffee with somebody, but it's on Zoom. And, I do BNI on Thursday mornings and that's like another thing. But, now because my clients are local, I get to go out to lunch. So I can do certain things, right? Or we can go to dinner or, because it's weird, but I know COVID ended 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. It still feels like there's reverberations from that. Where it's like, we can go out and eat. Oh, yeah, that's right. We can do that. It's just like a weird thing for me that, but again, in here, it just feels this is where I am all day long.
Yeah, I got an office last year because I was going a little postal. And so I did a like co-working space for a while. And then I opened up a studio and a photography studio along with an office just because I happened to find an office that was big enough to do a little like headshot area. And I kept it for a year and I wasn't quite using it as much. And so now it's been about a month and a half that I haven't had it, maybe 2 months. And I can feel it because I'm here all the time. There's like nowhere else for me to go. So I need to find some coffee shop or something just to mix it, just to mix it up. And I think that's one thing that entrepreneurs beat themselves up about too, is like needing other people, needing to be in a different space. Like we're not willing to take care of ourselves. We're so motivated, which is lovely, but we gut through things a lot of times that we don't have to. I think giving ourselves more grace and being willing to say, okay, I'm not feeling it right now, or I need to mix up this energy. I need to go to Starbucks and read, or I need to go walk around the block or whatever, is giving ourselves the grace to be like, I'm not perfect. Like I can't, I'm not a machine. Like, I'm still a human being. And that's okay. I think the other piece of advice that I would give new entrepreneurs is it's going to take longer than you think and cost more than you think. It's like a home improvement project. It'll always take longer and cost more than you think. And that's okay.
I love that.
The idea that you're going to be able to start a business and instantly start bringing in what you are making in corporate is tough. And I think a lot of people really don't realize that. They buy into a little bit of the MLM rhetoric of like work 2 days a week and make $100,000 and all that. I talked to a woman who was a top producer in one of the big MLMs yesterday, and she retired because she burned out. She was like, yeah, I was the top salesperson in the organization. She goes, I worked 16 hours a day for 4 years straight.
Wow.
She's like, yes, there's no one in that organization who can work 2 hours a week and make six figures.
There's no way.
We would sell that, frankly, to get people to sign up, but it didn't exist. And I was like, oh, finally, I felt validated, because I've always sort of said that, but to have someone say it to me, I was like, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So people kind of buy into that rhetoric of like, oh, well, I just need, or the passive income or the whatever, is like, it doesn't really work that way. You have to go into it with the mindset of, this is going to take some time. It's going to take time to build my audience. It's, again, why you want to have a real strong strategy from day one that's really vetted by somebody besides you, who's kind of been there, done that. Have a real strong strategy. And, you know, it's going to take a minute, and it's going to take longer than you want. You don't have to spend a ton of money depending on what you're doing, but you just got to be willing to give yourself the time and give yourself a little bit of grace. And I think if you look at it that way, it helps a lot, because where I see the real among entrepreneurs is when they're like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 3 months and I'm not making six figures. You're like, yeah.
No, I always say overnight success takes about 10 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, you know, because everyone's like, oh my God, you're so successful, you're this. And I'm like, yeah, but it took 10 years. Right. And it really took 3 years of getting my ass kicked. And then, you know, I think the last 3 years, 2.5 years is when things really start. But that's when I joined the Dames.
Yeah.
So you surround yourself with the people. And that's another piece of advice I will give people, is you surround yourself with people who are doing better than you, because it gives you the motivation, and it also gives you the vision, right? Is that the right word that I'm using? Like, it gives you the example of where you want to be, I think.
In a positive way and in a negative way, right? Like I that bothers me a little bit. Like, my ego wants to say that I'm going to be the coolest person in the room, even though I know I'm not. But I think it's true. You want to be surrounded by people, and you want to be willing to be humble in that environment.
Oh, 100%.
You need to be willing to say, because often we come from, at least for me, you know, I came from corporate America. Like, I was running a big team, a giant budget, you know, worldwide, you know, people worldwide, you know, all the things. And then it's hard. It can be a little hard to be willing to say, like, I need to be teachable. I think that, and I guess that's what you're saying, really. It's that idea of, not only am I going to be willing to be humble, I'm going to be willing to ask for help. Going back to that, finding mentors who can help you, but right. I'm going to ask for help, and I'm going to allow myself to be led by others, and I'm going to allow myself to follow in the footsteps of others. And I don't know, I think for a lot of us, at least for me, humility has always been hard for me, right? That kind of humility of admitting that I don't know what I don't know.
Right. But I think it's like we admit that we don't know what we don't know, but I think it's also for me anyway, because, you know, when I first started 10 years ago, I literally was selling like websites and SEO back then was like $200 a month, $300 a month. And people were bitching about that. And it was like, are you, you know, whatever. And now it's like, you know, 10 years later, and I'm I'm a strong businesswoman, right? I run a really successful business, and it's like, I did that because I surrounded myself with people, because I was willing to shut up and listen, because I was the one who would be like, yeah, but do you want me to fucking teach you or not? Shut up. Right. So you're right. I think there's like a sense of humility that we have to bring to the table, and admitting that, yeah, we don't know everything. And for me, it was like I know I don't know everything. What the hell am I doing here? Like, why am I even with these women? And then I had people telling me, you have no idea how people view you. And it was like, well, clearly not, because And I say that because it was one of those, worthy of that?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, there's a lot of worthiness stuff. I mean, that goes on just with everyone, but especially, entrepreneurs, we have this weird mix of like, I can do anything. Damn it, right? Like we're willing to fight the mold. Like I'm going to go start this thing. I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to make it work. But then they're like to find that and have the humility to say, I don't know. And I need to shut up and be teachable. That's a hard combination for a lot of entrepreneurs. And I also think, to your credit, we were talking earlier about the conference that we went to last year together. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think people are so attracted to you and were so attracted to you with that, because they saw you doing that. They saw you going to these networking meetings. They saw you saying, I don't know, I want to be teachable. Like, teach me. I want to learn from you, people. And that's the best way to connect with others, is to ask them for help and support. Yeah. And people are always happy to do that. I mean, within reason, right? You can't be like, hey, can I call you every 5 minutes and ask you questions? But,
no.
Anybody who's willing to say, like, I'm thinking about doing this, I need somebody to run it by. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? But man, it takes some humility to do that, especially for us ego driven, I can do anything, on my own type of entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I can't wait for this year, because not knowing that, but knowing more people walking into the room, right? It's more like a reunion at this point, right? For a lot of us, because a lot of us met for the first time last year, which was incredible. So see, we are over an hour. Okay. So what's your differentiator? Nice. She's like,
I know. My biggest differentiator is that there is a soul-based, heart-based approach to business that can also be very practical and very revenue-focused. I think that a lot of the coaches, mentors out there, they're either like mindset people who are like, find out what you want to do with your life and set your intentions and all that, which is great. I believe in all of that, and I do all of that. And then there's the like how to drive revenue kind of coaches. And I think what makes me different is that I've got both, right? I always start with that, like rooting that, who am I? Why do I want to do this? How do I make sure that I do make every decision from here and from here, right? At the same time. And if you guys are listening to this and not watching it, I'm pointing to my head and to my heart.
Yes. Thank you for that.
And I think that there's a really interesting alchemy of being able to find a mentor who can walk you through that process of saying, how do I make money, but in a way that's authentic to me, that feels good, that feels aligned? And I find it's really hard to do that through a class. I've been trying to figure out how to do that through some sort of a class. I think it really comes from just sitting down and just talking, like sharing who you are, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to say, I don't feel comfortable doing this. How else can I make money? But finding a way to do both and to really look at okay, let's start making you money. How do we make money? Because that's the whole point of this. But how do we also be of service? How do we be profitable and purposeful? And I think I'm a rare unicorn in that I've done a lot of that personal work. I'm in recovery. I've been a yogi since my teens, and the really, I have an MBA and all that, all that stuff, like also the real tactical kind of stuff. And so finding somebody who can do both, I think, is really rare. So that's my differentiator. And I just make it fun. I mean, let's do it and let's laugh.
Yeah.
And let's be silly. Let's be vulnerable, but let's also just be really practical.
I love all that. And it's like all in one package.
What do you think? I'm curious to hear your perspective, because you know me a little bit.
I mean, I think
would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I was going to say, I think all the things that you said, but I think also you have there's this easiness to be around you. And that's not the case with a lot of people. Yeah, we can make things fun and yeah, we can do these things, but if people aren't comfortable around us, it doesn't feel easy presence to be around. I don't know. I can't explain it. Even like via this, because I didn't get to see you last year, but I'm throwing some shit at you. But really, like, since I've gotten to know you, like, our talks are always so easy and it's smooth. And I look forward to every single time that I talk to you. So if I feel this way, I can only imagine that the people that you're guiding and that you're taking on the journey that you are, taking them on, I can't imagine that it would be any different. So to me, that would be your differentiator, is there's this immediate easiness.
Thank you for that. And I just want to point out that was what we were just talking about with this idea of like asking for feedback from other people, being willing to be humble and say, did I get it right? Right? What do you think?
Yeah.
Is my interpretation of how I present myself what's really happening here? And that's a great example of what we were talking about earlier of like, hey, asking other people for guidance, asking other people for support, asking other people if this works, and being humble enough to know that you don't know.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll throw it back on you. What about me?
Yeah, I agree. I think I love about you that you see what you see is what you get. And you're fun. And, for me, easy to talk to them. I grew up outside New York too. So we've got some of that, like, New Yorker, East Coast thing, yeah. Thing going. I think you're willing to go deep, but keep it fun. Which I think makes you a great podcast host. I think that's one of the things that makes podcasts really fun, is when you have a really interesting conversation, but there's also a bunch of laughter. And I think you and I have that same kind of approach, right? Of like, we're going to go deep. We're going to talk about the meaningful stuff. We're not going to just, whatever, but we're going to have a little bit of fun with it along the way. And I think, I admire so much having watched you kind of in the Dames, and I learned a lot. I don't know if you ever saw Annie's another woman in the group, and she did a commercial about Funference and about my experience at Funference. And it was about you and watching you, like, how does everybody know her? And like, it was just such an interesting thing for me to realize, like, the level of sisterhood that you could find with people who were virtual, and that I realized that you had something that I wanted, and that I have made an effort to emulate you in that like seeking to connect with other people in a way that I struggle with, right? I'm a little bit of an only child, and I always feel a little dorky and and so I that's one of the biggest things that I admire about you is this drive to always connect and learn and ask for help, which is very rare.
Well, I'm like, it takes a lot to get me speechless. Thank you for that. I had no idea. I've never seen that. Now I have to see it. Like, I've never seen that.
I'm pretty sure it was. We'll have to find it. You have heard. I'm pretty sure that's what I talked about in that. I remember talking about it somewhere. I think it was in that commercial, this idea of sisterhood.
Wow. Thank you for that. Okay. I have to gather myself. So how can people find you?
Yeah. So my website's kind of the easiest way. It's sherrysutton.com, SherrySutton.com. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all the social places. Mostly hang out on Instagram and Facebook, because that's where most of my folks are. I do a lot of free trainings. My YouTube channel is really, really robust. I do a ton of free trainings. I believe in, making it really easy for people to figure out how to do the how-tos in their business once they have their strategy. So I do a lot on YouTube. So feel free to go check that out. It's Sherry Sutton, your marketing mentor. Or if you just Google Sherry Sutton, you'll find me.
Nice. And the last question, I can't believe we're here already. I mean, we're like way over an hour, but I don't care. It's my show. So Kofi,
I know, right? What time is it?
Like, I gotta eat. But the last question that I ask everybody, and this makes me so sad because I want to talk to you like so much more, is what lights your fire? Personal, professional, whatever. It doesn't have to, just be you.
Yeah, I really, the reason why I do this business is because it lights my fire. And the part that lights my fire is when someone comes to me and says, I've had this experience in my life, or I have this skill, or I have this love that I've never been able to use before. And I want to use it to be of service to someone else, right? Whether it's I'm a recovering alcoholic and I want to be a sober coach, or, I spent my whole life learning how to sew for my grandmother, and now I want to give back to, people who can't afford clothing or something. I love when someone comes to me with a real purpose and a real personal vision and mission. And they're like, how do I build this into a business? And just helping them figure that out and helping them see how they can show up really authentically in the world, utilizing all of their superpowers and still make a living and a good living and make money doing it. There is nothing better than watching someone who can really show up in the world and just do it in a way where they shine and, again, get the rewards back from it. That's the coolest thing to me.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking your time today to talk to me.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God. Yeah, we're going to totally do this again. And then we're going to talk more, but, really, thank you. You have been amazing. I'm going to say goodbye and then come right back. So hang on a second. And I feel like I'm lagging a little. That's okay. Everybody, thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out for well over an hour with us today. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that I was right and that you love Sherry as much as I do after this episode, because she's just freaking awesome. For those of you that, have been watching for a long time, please go leave a review. Reviews are like our lifeblood right now. So go like, share, subscribe, and review. Hopefully it's a good one, but even if it's not, just leave a review. Appreciate all of you. And until the next time, go out and find what lights your fire. See ya.